We are here at Oliver Neubrand, which needs no introduction. Father-son combination together have years of experience in breeding. The Rottweiler would not be the same without their contribution to the breed. Oliver and Alphonse both have contributed towards developing training techniques and teaching new helpers to continue with the work. This is done more from passion than from anything else, as I can see. Thanks for taking this. What would you do if you were today deciding to start a kennel? What will you first look for? Good stud, or just any bitch, or a good bitch, and then choose the stud?
That's a very easy question. My father and I always had the same opinion on that. The foundation of any kennel, of any breeding, is always a good quality female. Only with a good quality female you are able to produce good quality dogs.
And if you say good quality females, do you only then go to certain lines and then simply from this line I will pick a good female, or do you say I'm open and I will look for which female appeals to me? How do you go about that?
Yes, we are very open. We always try to keep it interesting in our breeding program with different bloodlines. We are really looking for a complete Rottweiler. A complete Rottweiler means, in our opinion, 4 different aspects. Very important is health. Rottweiler needs to be healthy. We cannot work with a dog, we cannot show a dog if it's not healthy. Then we want working ability. Yes. Next, show quality and social ability. Those 4 aspects must come together in one dog, and then it's the right mixture to do a good breeding foundation.
Once you have a female, then do you think it's the best to go to a winning dog, or again, what's the selection for the correct breeding partner for it?
Same, selecting a female or a male. We believe in that you have to like the dog. If you don't like the dog, then it's no foundation to be successful. If the chemistry is not there, then I think it's no point. So choosing a winning dog, maybe a certain stud dog that wins every certain show, if I don't like the dog, if I don't have the chemistry for this particular dog, then I think it's making no sense to do a breeding. So I rather use a dog that's maybe not as popular, but maybe fulfills what I am looking for in the dog and what I maybe need for my particular female that I want to use, instead of using the big star and maybe ending up with getting nothing.
Now, if you use a healthy male with a healthy female, the common belief would be that you get all healthy, perfect puppies. Why?
Sir, I can interrupt you right away. We are in Germany and we are members of the ADRK. The ADRK has certain rules that we have to fulfill in order to breed. That means every dog, every single dog has to have hip and elbow X-rays. And we have certain ratings. Only if the certain ratings are in the measurement that the ADRK allows for breeding, then we can use them for breeding. It's no point in using a dog that has let's say a hip dysplasia or a very bad elbow dysplasia. So this is just not possible to do, so it's no point. We have to have healthy dogs for our breeding. On top of the hip and elbow statistics that we have breeding numbers. We have breeding limits in these numbers, and we are not allowed to go over these limits. Yes, that means from the beginning when we plan a breeding, we must watch the health first.
Does that mean once you have all these numbers and statistics in place, for example, if we say, okay, beyond 100 for HD in the breeding simulation, you should not go, let's say, 105 is the limit. So beyond 105 in HD, if you don't go, does that ensure that all the puppies in the litter will be HD normal, ED normal?
No, for sure not. It is a subject we could discuss probably for a week now with the hips and the elbows, because even though we breed free, we sometimes get a hip dysplasia dog. This is a problem that is hard to get, because the hips we are doing for, I think, about 40 to 50 years now, and still we have cases. Yeah? If we really would want to eliminate it totally, we would have to rethink of our selection system, which would be much more difficult and much more costly for the club and for the breeders. So that is a very tricky thing. But, and I can assure that, we have a very limited breeding problem with hips and elbow dysplasia. It is here and there is cases, but they are coming suddenly and not in a huge frequency.
So does that mean that if you have genetically taken care of, to put it in the back through breeding, as in the recessive, it cannot happen in general, but then environment, can it make a difference in the growing
Yes,
of the puppy?
Of course. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell a little bit from my experience. For hips and elbows, it is of course a genetic base. Yes. On top of that genetic base, we have feeding, and we have how the dog is going to be taken care of. If a young puppy, especially in the critical phase between 5 and 7 months, where they're extremely growing, I just showed you a young male like that, if they get hard pressure or hard training or whatever, going to the second floor every day 10-15 times, then arthrosis can start to exist and problems can start to come up. If a dog in that period of growing is being taken care of proper, then we can reduce the risk, of course, quite rapidly or quite high, getting hip problems or elbow problems. So we have these 3 elements just to get.
Now, a very controversial or in vogue topic about the head type. Post 2000, the head type of the Rottweiler has actually started changing. Some go in extreme, some saying no, and you yourself very recently made observation in one of your articles about the breed potentially having a threat of 2 splits, because the show guys want the shorter muzzle, wider cheekbones, and they want, on the working side, they don't really care, they just want the dog to be a sport dog. What is your opinion?
Yes, we have of course certain opinions on that, and I wrote certain articles about this problematic in today's world. First of all, I must say that I believe again in a complete dog. A complete dog means that he is nice, is a dog that I can go to shows, be successful in a show ring, that has a strong head type, that has a strong body, has substance, has bone structure, and all the details that we are looking for in our breed, like eye color, pigmentation, coloring, etc., etc. On the same dog, I want to be able to go on a field and do my IPO trials and work the dog in my weekly trainings. And I don't want to go to the training field and think, oh my god, I must train this dog again because the dog has no drive or no courage or anything like that. So I want the dog to be able to do these 2 things, yes? And at the same time, you may see my young kid here with 4 years running around, and I want to make sure that these dogs can behave around my young kid. And I don't want to be afraid that my dogs eat that young boy. So important for me is the whole package, as I said before: social behavior, temperament for the working ability. We can go in more details for all these aspects, but show quality is one of the main aspects as well. Going back to the head type, which you just pointed out, I think there's a tendency over the last couple of years where the heads got too short in the muscle and in a wrong shape. The problem is, in my opinion, more the shape than the short muscle, because it started to be 2 blocks, yes, like you have a big block and you have a short block, and in between there was nothing. So in my opinion, a lot of these super extreme types have no cheek fill. They exactly don't have what we want, yes, and that's what a big problem is. Then if you look in these dogs from maybe a side view, you see kind of a black and tan bull mastiff or a black and tan boxer, and those dogs don't have a cheek fill. So we want a dog that has a cheek fill, yes, it must have something under the eyes. Of course, I still don't want a long nose, trust me, that for sure I will select it automatically, and I don't want to have a narrow head in all these things, but the balance must be there, very important. And then one more thing about the working side. For me, it's the same thing. I cannot have a dog that don't work, of course, but on the other side, if I go to my kennel and I see a dog that I must remember myself, hey, this is a Rottweiler, not a Doberman, then I have something wrong going on, yes? And a lot of my friends from the walking fields, I'm a working guy. I'm training like 3, 4, 5 times a week. I do seminars every weekend on this topic, IPO sport. But a lot of these people, they totally misunderstand what our breed is made for. They're starting to create a black and tan Malinois, and we don't want that. We don't want the characteristics of a black and tan Malinois. We want the characteristics of a Rottweiler, and a Rottweiler is a self-confident, calm dog, not a hyperactive, nervous dog.
That's a very interesting point you raised. Black and tan Mali. Now, when I see two types of dogs in general that exist. One, a more strong type, more robust in body. He's a bit calmer, and he gets very stubborn during maybe 12, 13 months. A little bit hard to work with. The other is a bit hyper, higher nervous activity. I don't mean nervous, I just mean the brain thinks all over the place. Yeah, these dogs suddenly have a spurt of shyness coming into them. Do you see something like this happening? Do you kind of think it's something to do with the body type and the breed character kind of splitting into two, one being more dry, higher nervous activity? Both are good working dogs, but two different types, sternness or shyness, for want of a better word.
Well, first of all, I think that most of the Rottweilers come in that age period while they're growing, where they react on certain things in their daily life. Some that may have more experience in the world, like seeing a lot of different things, noises, traffic, different kind of environmental effects, they may rather have not so much of a problem with it than another dog that may be just walking a little bit around in the neighborhood and get the basic socialization. We must be careful. When we talk about temperament, we must look into it. That we want a dog that is active. We don't want a dog that is just sleeping in the corner. We want a dog that has a certain amount of prey drive. That's very important for our dogs. And they must have a certain amount of self-confidence. Only the combination of that will make a very strong and good working dog. At the same time, showing in the German style, you need also a dog with a good drive, yes, with a good motivation level, yes. If you don't have that, you cannot do anything in the showing either, because the dog will not present himself the way it should. So the right balance of it is very important. But we must understand that either extreme is also not working proper. If they are nervous, that means like hyperactive. That has nothing to do with prey drive. Yes, they are just restless dogs. They don't get calm. They are always in what's going on mood. Yeah? And then we have also the other side, where we have the dogs that they're sleeping, and next to them there can a bomb going up, and they would not even care. Yes, this is too much. Yes, so somewhere in the middle we must be. But for me, always very important is a good base of prey drive and good confidence, yes, and the confidence in general brings then the courage.
So these dogs that go through this phase during the 12-month, 15-month kind of period, and in the same litter you can have both types.
True.
Right, and both parents can be excellent working dogs.
Yes.
So how does one manage this? What needs to be done, and what are the dangers of both if not socialized for the society?
First of all, it's miracles of breeding. Yes, sometimes I see dogs and I'm getting excited about how great that dog is, maybe in a Schützenfield. Then I ask the person maybe, hey, where is this dog from? And then they tell me this and that, and then I almost cannot believe, because I would think this parents cannot give this quality to a dog. But then suddenly I see that. So I truly believe that again there is a genetic base that we have. But more important is what the handler and the training environment does with that genetic base. Of course, they need the genetic base to do something, but if there is no genetic base, the best trainer in the world cannot reach anything. Yes, but very easy on the other side, and that's a very big drama for our breed. Great dogs with great temperament and with a great genetic base can be destroyed so easy by wrong handling, by wrong training. Yes, and that's why a lot of very bad accidents can happen. Especially looking at raising a dog when he comes in this period where he's getting a bit, we always say, they are in a teenage mood. Yes, when they start to react, they start to play the big guy. On the same side, on the same moment, they are not sure about themselves. So maybe they are a little bit afraid, but a little bit strong. So there we have to be very careful and find the right balance to get our dog through that period of growing.
Socialization.
Yes.
Now, many people say that earlier days we never had a problem with mouth pigmentation. Yes, and we.
Right away I can stop you here. I would not agree on that. I think we had in the past also big problems with mouth pigmentation, but it was very clear in the past that you don't need to show and present the dog with a bad pigmentation. We cannot do anything with it, and I think these older gentlemen here will sign that. If you had a pink mouse or something like that, or pink spots, you were just got an SG rating or G rating, yes? And so no one showed up with these dogs, but I truly believe that the dogs had problems. Maybe now with the focus sometimes a little bit more on extremes, people forget about breeding details. So then they rather would say, okay, we give it a try. And I think that is the big difference to the past. In the past, I think a lot of dogs, when they got a pink mouse, the breeders, they would not breed to the dog anymore. They say, okay, the dog has a pink mouse, it's no use for us in the breeding. Today, we have again these two groups. We have the working side. If the dog is a great working dog and maybe produces great working dogs and has a pink mouse, most of these working guys, they would not care. On the other side, we have breeders that are going for an extreme head type, and they would maybe risk a pink mouse or try maybe to gamble with it. I rather have a great head type, but maybe a risk to have a pink mouse. So we see dogs today in Germany, and it's a little bit sad, that have a pink mouse after they were 2.5 years old, and they breed all their life. They never present in any shows, but still they breed and breed and breed, because people trying to get this one super dog out of it instead of looking at the whole picture.
But can this be then eliminated by breeding two black mouth dogs or brown black mouth dogs? You still get sometimes a pink mouth dog. How does a breeder tackle this issue?
Yes, again, it's a very wide subject, and I have a certain opinion on it, of course. I believe also that the mouse pigmentation has different effects. First, I think there must be a genetic base. Again, if a dog has no genetic base, then he may can turn to a pink mouse through certain medication or something like that, but in general he will stay black. Then we have the dogs that have maybe a genetic base. With the combination of a genetic base and stress, we very easily can get pink mouse pigmentations. There we come back to the dogs that are nervous. Very often we see nervous dogs having a pink mouse pigmentation. So I believe that a calm dog rather has a darker pigmentation than a nervous dog. And then saying that two black mouse dogs producing pink mouse can have the reason, of course, that they may be a little bit too hyperactive, or maybe the parents of these two black mouse dogs already have it.
How do you tackle Vorbis, and where do you see Vorbis coming to? Is it because of the structure of the muzzle? Is it because of genetic issues which are behind it? Your views around Vorbis?
Yes, of course. Vorbis is a tricky thing because it happens at a later stage while the puppy is growing, and this is not in our data. So these dogs that have a Rückbiss, yes, undershot bite, we will see them in the litters, we will have a note on it, and we can follow it. We can look which stud dog or which female line will produce a certain amount of Rückbiss, and we may can avoid using that dog on a certain bloodline. On the Vorbis it's more difficult because it's just about hearing and seeing maybe here and there a little bit, but it is difficult to select, yes, because the dogs, of course, that have a phobis, they will disappear, they will go to a pet home, or to some people that don't care. But for us in Germany, when we have to do CDPs and shows and all these things, we have to have a proper dentition in our dogs, yes, and that makes it very difficult. I'm not sure if it has to do something with the jaw or with the structure of the head, because as you already pointed out, there is dogs with a long muscle still have the same problem. There's dogs with a short muscle have no problem, and of course the opposite way around as well. Definitely it has also a genetic foundation.
When we look at a good litter, if a breeder has to pick up from a good litter, what should he look for in the litter, not just the dog? What should he look for in the litter for him to say, okay, this is a good litter from which I can take a specimen to go further?
Yes, I'm also picking a lot of puppies throughout a year, because I always try to see a little bit what my stud dogs produce. So I from time to time drive to other breeders and look at the litters and select maybe a puppy from one of my stud dogs. We're doing this on a frequently base, just to get a good feeling for what the stud dogs produce. When I look at a certain litter, first of all, I want to see an equal litter. For me, it's very important that there is not like one super dog and maybe 7 that I would say, oh, are you sure that they are sisters and brothers? I want to see a complete litter where the puppies look equal, and the more I must say, okay, now this is difficult to choose a puppy, the better it is in the end, yes? And then also I can say that this puppy maybe in the future has breeding potential and producing potential, because it's not a one-hit wonder thing, it's from a complete breeding, yes? And that's what we are looking for. And then of course we try also to see that the puppy is active. We don't want to pick a shy puppy or a very reserved puppy. We want to pick the active puppy, the confident puppy. Sure, it's important also that we have a certain substance in the young puppy. Very often the very little ones, they stay the little ones, that is just the nature, and a narrow head stays a narrow head. Of course, here and there you can be shown the opposite, but in general that's the case. So we're looking for a strong puppy with a strong head, especially a strong muscle, a wide muscle. And one thing that in the end gives me the decision is impression. If a dog has no impression, even if he has the biggest head, then it's not a good dog for me. I must look at a dog's eyes or at his attitude and see, okay, he has the impression or the expression to do something, yes, to show off, to say, hey, here I am, I want to do something. That's exactly the puppy that we are looking for.
About bringing up the litter from the time that is born to about 12 weeks, what must be the things that a good breeder should look to?
Yes, again here we have a little bit different rule situation. We try to have the puppies till the 8th week, till they are 8 weeks old. After they are 8 weeks old, we believe in that the litter should get separated. There's a few reasons. First of all, we think after the 8th week, especially between 8 and 12 weeks, it's so important to have a good bonding with the new owner, and it's so easy to get a good bonding. So it's important that they get in time to their new homes to get a good bonding. Yes, this is a very important period of time in raising a young puppy. Second, we believe that young puppies, when they are at 7-8 weeks, they start to do pack order fights, and we of course also do want to avoid that, because we want an individual specimen. That means our dog should present himself later on in the working field or in the show field as a pack leader. Only if he presents himself as a pack leader, he has a winning potential. If he stands there as like the number 5 or number 6 in row, then he will stand there like this and he will have no impression and no expression. So that is very important. We think in the first 8 weeks it's important that the dogs start to see things, yeah? That they start to hear different noises, different sounds. We have always a lot of visitors, we have kids, we invite the kindergarten, we go to schools, we have a lot of things going on that the puppies see a lot of different things. But all these things basically they happen in our environment at home. Socialization with city situations, with other animals, that's part of the new owner.
Thanks a lot for your time. It is really helpful. It's a pleasure being here, and we look forward to constantly getting guidance from you. Thanks a lot, Oliver.
You're very much welcome.